Welcome to the Jon Harrison podcast. Statistics show us that about 70% of people are disengaged in the workplace. Obviously, that affects bottom lines of companies, individual, their own engagement at work, but also affects families and communities. We don't want to just be frustrated about things that are going on in the workplace or in the world. We want to do something about it. So we're going to talk about this while others aren't, and we hope you will join us on this journey.
Welcome back to the Jon Harrison podcast. This is Madeline. I've got Melissa, Christy, and Jason here with me at the table today. And we're going to be talking about the power of feedback, getting feedback at work. And we've talked about this before on how to deliver constructive feedback as a leader. But today we're going to talk about getting constructive criticism and how to grow and not take it as personally, because this is pretty hard. None of us like to hear that we're doing something wrong or we could do something better, but I think it's very important and it's a way to grow. So just to start off, I kind of want to talk about why do most employees struggle with feedback?
I think the reason most employees struggle with feedback because we want to impress our boss. At the end of the day, we want to hear you're doing a great job. You're valuable to the team. We don't know what we would do without you. You bring great ideas. And I struggle with this sometimes. I know we've all done it. People can say 30 things they like about you, and they say one thing, and you focus on that one thing, right? And you miss the other 29. And I think sometimes that's what happens. Not only do you focus on it, you rehearse it and you replay it over and over in your mind. So now anytime anybody says anything that can be considered criticism, that's where you zone in because you still have that one thing that you've been rehearsing, instead of seeing it as, hey, they care about me enough to help me be better.
That's good. That's good, especially for a people pleaser. You know, that's what I am. I feel like is I want to make the people around me happy, right? I want to make my boss happy, and so if I feel like I haven't, then it can crush me, you know. But I think in the way it's delivered is a big deal too. So the way you deliver Melissa is one of the best, I think. I've told everybody that at delivering what I need to do better in our performance reviews that we do quarterly. And so it does take the edge off when she delivers it to me, right? But if you come at me with a harsh tone, maybe, that would make it a little bit more hard for me to accept it, right? And so that's one thing. Another thing is I think even trauma from when we're young can play a part in how we react, right? And so at another job I've had, there was something not getting done, and she said, well, they wouldn't tell me that if they knew what happened with my mother when I was a kid. And so you're talking 30 years earlier that something happened that traumatized them so much that now we can't even tell them, well, you missed this or missed that. And so now she did come back the next day, just to her credit, and say, yeah, that they were right and I shouldn't be offended by that, right? And so that was the right deal, but we don't want to do that up front. We don't want to be that person to get offended up front just because somebody's telling us we need to improve upon something.
That's really good of her to recognize that. And I feel like you can recognize that in yourself if what they're asking you to do or the feedback they're giving you affects you on a deeper level, and you can kind of feel that heart pounding, and it's like the reaction doesn't match up with what they were saying.
Really good.
And I think that's just, in the last episode we were talking about the 7 characteristics of a star, and one of those is being self-aware. And that doesn't mean because none of us are perfect. We're never all going to have our trauma, and it could be not even just past trauma from younger days, but it could be maybe this specific leader that's giving you feedback has kind of bashed you down in the past, or you feel like they're always giving you negative feedback, but maybe they've turned a corner and it hasn't been in a while that they've actually given you bad feedback, but now they are coming back to you. I mean, there's a million scenarios we know, but that's where that trauma could come in again of and I know the trauma is a little overused nowadays, but that history could come into play of, man, they're always doing this. And it kind of makes your heart pound a little bit.
Yeah. On the opposite end of that spectrum, too, is a situation where you've never had anyone in your life give you constructive feedback or help direct you or redirect you. And so we've talked a lot in the past on some of these podcasts about having someone in your life that speaks truth to you. And a lot of times now, kids are raised in such a way that, they do no wrong. Not everyone. I'm not suggesting that, but I'm just saying that there's always this pump them up kind of sensation going on. And you're not really taking the time to stop and have a constructive conversation about where areas of improvement might need to take place. And so if you get into the workforce as a new young employee and one of your bosses has something constructive to say, you're like, ooh, what do I do with that? Or did I really mess up so bad? We are human, and our human nature says we blow those kinds of things out of proportion, and our pride and perfectionism and all those kinds of things kind of get in the way of us actually hearing what's going on. And so just being sensitive to that, whether you're a peer or a leader and you're talking to someone who is new to the workforce, just keep that in mind. But on the opposite side of that too is if you are a peer to someone who has not received constructive feedback, try to be aware of that when you're talking to them and have a different tone, have body language that matches the tone, like you were saying, Madeline. So the self-awareness component of it is huge, but also just kind of checking yourself in what you know about your past. How well am I listening to what's actually being said to me based on what has happened in the past?
Yeah. I think that a great point when you brought up the different generations, because we jokingly say this is the trophy generation, right? We give kids trophies for just participating. We don't want anybody to feel left out. There's no longer a loser. Even the last place person gets a trophy. We went to basketball tournaments, and I was like, but y'all lost. Like at some point, it's okay
To lose.
lose and to not get a reward for losing. So I think we, in trying to make sure everybody felt included and nobody felt left out, and we didn't want to hurt people's feelings, that we ended up with a generation that some of them have never heard any constructive criticism or ever felt like they failed. And it's okay to fail. If you're not willing to do something new, then of course you'll play it safe and you'll always do it the same way. But if you're trying to be innovative, if you're trying to be a good team player and come up with ideas, the probability of you failing once or twice in your life is going to happen. Now, what do we do to get better? In order to get better, I've got to have somebody give me a hard truth and help me see my blind spots. And to Jason's point, too, how we frame it up is important. And if we can start that, setting expectations on the front end, hey, in 90 days, we're going to sit down and I'm going to tell you all the great things you've done. And then I'm going to tell you about some ways that I think we can strengthen to help you grow. So then in the next 120 days, we're going to have the same conversation. And by the time we get to your 1-year evaluation, we'll both be on the same page so that they understand this is coming and it's okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's all to make me better.
Yeah, Jason mentioned my performance reviews that I've given to him, right? And none of what was in that document was a surprise to you, I don't think. I think we talked about it along the way, and it was more of a coaching situation than it was a disciplinary situation in any of those conversations. I don't think I ever wrote you up, did I?
Not to my knowledge. Might have been a surprise. No, you did not.
No, I'm teasing. But, with that, having those conversations in a tone of coaching, as soon as they happen, right, then it takes away the difficult awkwardness of it. And then when you get to the performance review time frame, it's just a way to document that you actually had the conversation.
Absolutely.
And, oh, by the way, you changed direction as soon as I gave you that feedback, and I really appreciate that. So, again, it's setting up the front end of any possibility of feedback or redirection through core values, through setting the expectations, and training everybody on those expectations. So all levels, if you're a car hop at Sonic, or if you're coming into an organization as an executive, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and so what your feedback would do is point back to the expectation, right? And so that's where you were using that. It wasn't like necessarily a flaw in my heart, you know what I'm saying? It was just something that, like, hey, here's what we expect. We expect you to respond back to clients within this certain time frame, and I've noticed you were a little lax, so I need you to get. So you're just pointing me back to where we should be, right? And so communication up front, communicate with excellence, is if you set that expectation up front and then hold me to that, then it shouldn't be a surprise to me, right?
Right.
So that's good.
Yeah, and I think the next step there is then following up as the employee. Like,
Yes.
yeah, of course, your leader should be following up if they're asking you to change something, and they should be kind of documenting that and hoping or helping you through that progress. But I think also as an employee, you can, as you make that change, don't try to just, because I feel like a lot of us can be kind of avoidant, and it's like, okay, I'm going to change it, but I never want to talk about that again. Like, you know, like I never.
That's so true.
But I think it takes maturity to come back and be like, hey, I know you mentioned this either during performance review or just casually. You know, I was a little hurt about it, but I think I've come a long way now. And have you seen improvement in that area?
Yeah, that's so wise, so mature. Yeah, to be able to have those conversations.
And I'm going to tell you, you do the same thing with even a spouse, right? And so, or your significant other. I mean, we do that, you know, when maybe I've fallen short of being maybe a good husband, you know, or, you know, doing what she needs me to do, right? And then just going back and saying, hey, are you feeling better about this? Am I doing better? You know, so you can even take this to home even.
Oh, yeah. And we hope that resonates, you know, with everyone, with all of the episodes that we do here on the podcast and every concept that we talk about. Really, we do try to make it where you can apply it at home as well, because that's what really matters in life. Of course, work has to get done, but those relationships and that family is what matters so importantly. But yeah, thank you all so much for listening. Thank you, the JH team here, for giving your insights on this, and we will catch you on the next episode.
Thank you for joining us today on the Jon Harrison podcast. As you know, we believe that a positive work culture creates a ripple effect that extends into families and communities. If you found anything of value in today's episode, please share it with somebody so they can hear it as well. And if you have questions or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes, please fill out the form below.